So the range of PlayStation 5 professional upgrades still coming at us thick and fast. We can't keep up. But one of the interesting ones that arrived this week was, and this one I didn't quite expect to see, the Callisto Protocol. Now, this was a game that John loved back in the day. And, obviously there's a lot of great technology in there. It has actually been updated for the PlayStation 5 Pro. We've got 4K 60 modes now. We've got ray tracing, 8K 30 even. Now, we've had issues with 8K, and I hope Sony could actually do something about this. The way the 8K output of the PlayStation 5 Pro is set up is that it's basically impossible to use with capture devices, which means that we haven't been able to show you 8K footage of any game except for No Man's Sky, where the developer supplied the footage, which says to me that they must have some sort of 8K capture facility within the development kit. But the interesting thing with the Callisto Protocol is that there is a quote-unquote 8K mode, and it is available if you've got a 4K screen. Oliver, could you talk us through, you took a look at this, could you talk us through what this patch actually does and your impressions of it?
Yeah. So I'll get to that mooted so-called 8K 30 mode in a moment here. I want to start with what I think is the standout mode, which is the new quote-unquote 4K 60 performance mode. I think it's actually really, really cool, because here you're getting a little bit of a sharper image in the old performance mode. You still see some aliasing, still some breakup, but it's sharper, perceptibly sharper. But you're also getting both ray tracing effects added in, so the RT reflections and the RT shadows, those were absent before in the performance mode on PlayStation 5, present in the quality mode, and present here. And it's basically an experience without any real compromise relative to what you saw before. And it's essentially a locked 60 FPS in my experience, at least playing through the first little bit of the game. On PS5, when I went back to test that, there were some frame rate drops there. So it's actually running a little bit smoother. In terms of resolution in that 4K 60 performance mode, I came up with counts like 1440p and 1296p. I think using Unreal's TAAU here, so not PSSR, not FSR. I think it's TAAU, judging from the way the image appears. It's not showing artifacts that would be indicative of those more ambitious techniques, and it looks very similar to the old AA solution they had on PS5. But actually, I went back to that PS5 code because I was curious to see how the pixel counts worked out there, and I got counts that were a little bit higher in the exact same shots. I got 1656p and 1440p. But the image weirdly looked a little bit softer. So I think maybe there are different targets they're going to with that TAA, with that TAAU possibly, to get that sharper image resolve on PS5 Pro. But subjectively speaking, I think the image quality on PS5 Pro is a bit better. It's a bit sharper. It's clearly resolving a bit more detail there. Now there's also this 8K 30 mode, which I've captured here at 4K. In the menu, it basically implies or says that it can be downsampled to 4K. It's not totally clear to me whether this is the exact same rendering setup or if there might be some differences there. But it probably is I'd have to assume it is pretty similar. They talk about it going up to 6K in resolution. I presume that's internally there. Here you get RT reflections and RT shadows. But in image quality terms, it's honestly not a huge difference. Like aliasing is pretty similar. The image is maybe a bit sharper there. It's pretty similar on the whole. I counted out a few shots and they were all at 4K, but I can't tell if that's 4K or downsampled like 5K or right. 6K, who knows. Here, I guess my question, and I don't have a good answer to this because I don't have the appropriate capture equipment or indeed an appropriate television, but I do wonder if when you do connect it to an 8K television set, if it is actually upsampling to 8K, if you get a perceptively 8K-like image. I'd think with TAAU, probably it wouldn't do a very good job of that if they were trying to do that. Or if this is just a dynamic 6K, let's say, and if they're just doing a simple upscale, a simple, naive upscale to 8K there. Probably the latter I would expect. There's also a 40 FPS, 120 Hertz balanced mode, but I didn't have time to take a look at that. But yeah, overall, I'm quite pleased with this. This is an old game, yet they've still improved image quality quite a bit, improved ray tracing a lot on that base performance mode, still hitting 60 FPS. My only question here would be, I kind of wonder if they're just basically tapping into that extra 30% or 45% of performance in the GPU there. We don't know exactly how the Pro is accelerating ray tracing above and beyond the base PS5, but if you look at that 2 to 3 times performance improvement and the fact that some of the Pro's features are locked off to developers that are using old SDKs, I kind of wonder if it's basically just that lowered res plus that extra GPU grunt there in terms of general performance. If that's just enough, or if they are using a new SDK and they are tapping into possibly some of those new features on the PS5 Pro, I really don't know at the moment. But I think that this upgrade is really compelling, especially for a 2-year-old title that certainly, I mean, I remember this game quite fondly because it looks so good. It still is one of the best looking games even on console platforms today. But I think that in this case, they've done a really good job updating this game. It's a really good upgrade. And I think the performance mode on PS5 Pro right now is for sure the definitive way, in my view, to play this game on consoles, because it's kind of hitting every single mark you'd want it to in terms of visual features and image quality that you could really realistically expect for on the consoles.
Yeah, I mean, the 8K side of things, I could, in theory, attach it to my 8K screen and take some 8K screenshots. That's the only way we could get 8K media from the PS5 Professional at the moment, since capture is off the table, or if the developer was nice enough to take some capture for us. We have actually heard from the PR for striking distance, and maybe something can be done there in the future, because they've also got apparently their game redacted. They've got an 8K 60 mode on that, so interesting stuff there. Alex, I suppose from your point of view, it's basically how come we've got this upgrade for PlayStation 5 Pro when the PC version is basically still a bit of a mess?
Yeah, one thing that Oliver did, or was it you or Oliver, described to me that you still have to restart the game to change the modes.
That's true.
Yeah, that is the thing that's still in the PC version. You can't change any of the graphical options. There is not even a graphical options menu when you're in game. It's only in the main system menu. And I found that just so, it's not even 90s. I don't know what that was. It's like DOS. And and yeah, I didn't like this PC version too much when it came out, and I really wish, I mean, there's probably no more sales on PC, to be honest with you. It was a game that didn't have particularly good reviews, didn't have particularly good word of mouth of a lot of people that wanted to play it. Wanted it very much so to be Dead Space, but it wasn't Dead Space. It was a different game, which is why it had this weirdly unflattering or flattering, depending upon your perspective, comparison to the Dead Space remake, which was coming out around the same time. But I really, really wish it's nice for PlayStation 5 Pro owners that they get this upgrade, especially with regards to the ray tracing, which definitely helped the end image quite a lot in the original title, especially like the shadowing. I distinctly remember being a lot better. Though I really do wish PC got some of that love, because I think the FSR in this title was really not good. Just left so much specular aliasing everywhere. And this was at that weirdly controversial time when there was rumors going about games that got FSR 2 were being explicitly told not to implement DLSS. And I have no idea if this is a leftover of that period of time where there was contractual weirdness going on, or if it was literally, we just don't want to implement it. I have no idea. But either way, wish the PC version had a little bit more love like this did.
Well, maybe we'll do some more on this one if we can find the time, and if the developer wants to speak to us. But I think there's some promising signs there, because they did reach out to us to give us a heads up on what all of the features are for the Callisto Protocol there. And it was kind of interesting just to see it arrive at all, bearing in mind the age of the title.